I'll be the first to admit it. I probably have a bad case of gas, or what we as photographers call gear acquisition syndrome. Over the years, I've accumulated an insane amount of camera gear, and I haven't done a what's in my camera bag video since last year. We're kind of midway through 2023, so I figured I'd update you guys on what's going on because things indeed have changed. Starting with the bag itself, this is the Shimoda Action X25 liter. And this is a new pickup for me, and I actually reviewed the bigger brother of this bag, the Action X30. But what I noticed is that because I'm a small little Asian man, I have a really tiny frame. Sometimes the Action X just felt like it was a little bit too big of a bag, especially also when traveling, on planes and using it as a carry-on. It does kind of push the limits of what you can fit underneath the seat in front of you as a carry-on bag or as a personal item bag. So that ended up prompting me to switch to something smaller, something just a little bit lighter. And I've been really enjoying it so far. In addition to going over what's in my camera bag, I also want to provide you guys with a little bit of tips or tricks and hacks that I found while using this Shimoda Action X25. So stay tuned and keep your ears out throughout the video, as I will kind of just be throwing the hacks into the video whenever they come up. All right, let's get into the good stuff here. So let's open this here and hopefully nothing falls out and we're good. As you can see, the interior of the bag is fully loaded. Even though it looks like it's an insane amount of gear, which it still kind of is an insane amount of gear, it's much less than what I was carrying before, and it's much more lightweight, which has been kind of like a theme over the past year, just trying to get this kit to be as small, as lightweight, and as portable as possible. But first, Shimoda hack number 1 with this Action X25. On the website, the only supported camera cube, or the only supported core unit, is this small mirrorless core unit. Basically, you're only kind of getting a smaller portion of what I actually currently have set up here. So what I actually have here inside the bag is the large mirrorless core unit. And it'll take some squeezing, but it will fit into the new Action X series. I have the Explorer 25 liter series and it doesn't quite fit into that one. Yes, it does fit, but then you totally and completely lose the top portion of the bag and the top pocket. But because the Action X has the roll top up here, you still get a little bit of that functionality of the expandability of the bag. Even though the large mirrorless core unit does fit inside of the camera bag, because it does kind of stretch the frame of the bag a little bit. I'm not sure if that technically violates Shimoda's warranty. I know all the Shimoda bags come with a 3-year warranty, so if you are going to end up buying the core unit separately and throwing it into the smaller bags, don't tell them that I sent you. But do so at your own risk. But it does make the bag a much bigger, much more functional camera bag here that we can really stuff in with all of our things. So let's start with camera bodies. The main camera bodies haven't changed much since last time. I've still got the Sony A1, 50 megapixels, 30 frames per second, an insane camera that does well with landscapes and wildlife. The only thing about the A1 that has changed is instead of having the L bracket that's a little bit bulkier, I've updated this to the small rig rotatable mounting plate. And I also upgraded my SD cards, and these guys have been a huge addition to my kit. These are the Angelbird CF Express Type A cards, the 1 terabyte versions. I think they only have the 1 terabyte versions, but insane capacity, so we can take a whole lot of time lapses and not have to worry about changing SD cards. It also writes a lot faster than any SD card on the market, so I can fire off a burst of wildlife shots. The camera clears the buffer on these cards really fast, and I can switch over, take a quick video, and yeah, it just makes shooting, gives me a lot more flexibility when shooting. The second camera body that I'm using is still the A7 IV, 33 megapixels. It can do 422 4K video. As a placeholder in the bag, I just have my broken A7R III. And yeah, it's just a really nice complementary camera to the A1. You know, not just for video, but for if I need a second body to take stills. If this one is doing a time lapse and I see something off into the distance, like a telephoto shot, I don't mind switching to the A7 IV for that secondary shot. The lens that I'm using on the A7 IV is the Sony 20mm 1.8 lens, and I've been really loving this lens because it's small, it's lightweight, it can create good shallow depth of field when it comes to video. And this lens that I bought from my friend Norris actually kind of kicked off a whole trend of upgrade or downgrade, depending on which way you look at it. But this whole trend of me trying to change my gear to something that's a little bit more smaller and lightweight. So what I used to film on for vlogging was this lens, and I have to bring out all of my old camera gear from the shelf, not the shelf back there, but from the other side of the desk. I used to film all of the vlogging with this guy, the 16-35 G Master lens, and this was a really good lens. But it was super heavy, especially for video. So I wanted something lighter for video, and that prompted me to get the 20mm 1.8. Once I got the 20mm 1.8, my main wide angle lens that I was using for stills, this guy, this beast of a lens, the 12-24 G Master, also an f2.8 lens, also a heavy beast with a huge front element, so I had to carry around big filters. I no longer had a need for this lens because I used the 16-35 as my wide angle lens, because it got wide enough for what I needed. It was, you know, lighter than the 12-24. So the 12-24, you know, went away and was never to be seen again. So yeah, I rocked the 16-35 G Master for a while, until I ended up getting this lens here. And the next lens in the camera bag that we'll talk about is this guy. This is the Sony 14mm f1.8. And I've been using this as kind of like my main wide angle lens for astrophotography, especially. We've been doing a lot of astrophotography as of late. And you know, it's super small, super compact, super lightweight, you know, again, fitting with the trend. And once I realized that this was the only lens, between this and the 20mm 1.8, I could get majority of my astrophotography shots. I thought to myself, why the hell am I carrying this heavy 2.8 lens around, breaking my back, hurting my shoulders, destroying my knees every time I go out for a hike? Why the hell am I bringing this around when I already have a better lens for low light and astrophotography? So the 16-35 G Master went away, and in comes this guy. This is the 16-35 f4 power zoom lens, and this thing literally feels like a toy. This thing is super light. Don't throw your lenses, but to just kind of show you guys, this thing is crazy light. I give up the ability to go to 2.8, but for most of my landscape photography, as long as I'm not shooting astro, I'm shooting at like f8, f11, f16, so I don't really need that 2.8 anyways. And this thing has just been a joy and such a fun thing to use because it's super small, super lightweight. And in fact, my main kind of setup for landscapes with the A1 and the this new 16-35 is actually a lighter combo than my vlogging setup, you know, which is absolutely crazy. going further down the line, if we have to get a shot that's, you know, a little bit more telephoto, kind of in that mid-range 50 mil range, the 16-35 can't quite punch in as much. So what fills that gap? I used to use this lens here. Again, we're going back to the older, heavier lenses. I used to use this lens. This was my main mid-range zoom, the 24-105 G lens. And this was a good lens, but a lens that I didn't use a whole lot because I would either shoot super ultra wide with the 16-35 or punch in with the 100-400. So this lens didn't really serve a purpose after a while. I thought about it more and more, and I realized that, yeah, this lens is, you know, it's lighter than the f2.8 lenses, but because it's such a super zoom, it does still carry some weight to it. So I ended up taking this one out of the bag and replacing it with this lens. And it's another lens recommended by Norris. This guy, I gotta stop hanging out with this guy because he's making my bank account run dry. Anyways, I replaced it with this lens. This is the Sony 20-70 f4. So it's still f4. It can get a little bit wider than that 24-105, but it can't punch in as far, which is fine because I feel like once I'm at 70, I can either crop into about 100 mil, or if I need to go even further than that, we still have the 100-400. If I compare it size-wise, you can see that it's significantly shorter, so it does fit vertically a little bit better in the small camera bag. And again, this thing feels like a toy, whereas this thing definitely has much more weight to it. So that lens, the mid-range, has been replaced, and yeah, I've been happy with it. All right, we're still, unfortunately, lugging around this heavy, heavy lens. This is the Sony 100-400 G Master lens. This thing is a heavy beast, but it's a nice heavy beast. In comparison to the 200-600, it's smaller, it's lighter. You know, that 200-600 doesn't have this external zoom, which has its benefits and its drawbacks. The drawback is that it can't fold up as small as the 100-400, but the benefit is that it's a little bit more convenient to actually shoot with. But I've been happy with using the 100-400, especially for, you know, really telephoto landscapes, and especially also for wildlife. Having this thing in a relatively small and lightweight size and weight for a super zoom is pretty nice. It still is heavy, and I would like to see this thing reduced to the size of the new Sony 70-200 f4. If this thing can be shrunk to something around that size, then I would be very, very happy with it. But for now, we're still using the 100-400 for most of our wildlife and telephoto landscape shots. Okay, that goes over the camera gear. Just some other extra knickknacks that I have here in the bag. We've got the Polar Pro filters here, the quartz line for the wide angle lenses for basically all of our lenses here. I've got the circular polarizer, I've got a 3-stop, I've got a 6-stop, and then I've also got variable ND filters for the wide angle lens, of course, Polar Pro, Peter McKinnon. Probably the next thing that I'll update is the filter set, because I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do like magnetic filters or, you know, just kind of change things up a little bit. So far, I haven't had the desire to. I kind of like having just this small little compact size. Other knickknacks that we have here. We have this little pouch here on the side. Ugh. This thing belonged to my old camera cube. This is from Peak Design, but it's just a little mesh pouch that I have to hold spare SD cards, Allen keys, dead cats for the microphone, and that's pretty much it. Just a nice small little piece that just fits in the camera cube. And then I've also got the microfiber towel cloth thing, because you always need something to clean your lenses and wipe off water, especially when shooting around seascapes and especially when shooting in the rain. And then I've also got on this side here battery pouch just for spare Sony batteries here. This just carries 4, which is more than enough. So I usually carry around 6 or 7 batteries, and yeah, it's worked quite well so far. I've also got in this pocket here, this is the microphone kit that we're using. This is the DJI mic kit. Obviously I'm using them right now, but I like this nice little AirPods-like case because you can just put everything inside, close it, it recharges, and then by the time you're out to the next shoot, you've got a fully charged microphone and all that. So that goes up here in this pocket. And then we've also got this guy, the Nightcore Blower Baby. And you know, this thing is it's basically like a mechanical vacuum, not vacuum, but a mechanical air blower. I'm blowing air on myself right now because it's hot. This camera probably needs it too. But what I like about this is that if I notice that there's a sensor dust while I'm out shooting, I just pull this out, give it a nice spray on the sensor, get rid of all the dust. All right, so that's the main compartment of the bag. We close this up here and flip it over. Up here in this pocket, I've got my drone. This is the DJI Mini 3, and I've been loving this drone, of course. Super small, super lightweight, really portable. It doesn't take up a whole lot of weight in the camera bag, especially if I use the lightweight battery. Although I do carry the remote controller with the screen here, so this does actually add a little bit more weight than the one without the controller. I do enjoy not having to use my phone as the physical controller. So yeah, this guy usually lives up here. What else I got up here? I've got the headlamp that I've been using. I've just grabbed this one from either Lowe's or Best Buy or something like that. I don't know, but always have an external light source for your own safety when going out, especially in the dark. And then some Peak Design camera straps here. I do have on all my cameras enabled the Peak Design little red dongles or whatever. And what I usually use it for, I just hook it onto the camera like so. If I'm doing a time lapse and the camera is on the edge of the cliff, I attach it to one of the cameras and then tie it to my camera bag. And because my camera bag is heavy, it secures it. If the wind blows the camera off the cliff, then at least the camera is saved. The tripod might go tumbling down the hill, but at least the camera can be pulled back up because everything is attached with these straps. And if we open up the front pocket here, we've got a rain jacket back here and rain covers for the camera bag and 2 rain covers for the camera bodies. Here's another Shimoda hack. If I empty out all of my rain gear, like let's say that I'm just going to the airport, I'm going to travel, I pack all of the rain gear in the suitcase, and because I am stubborn and don't want to use a smaller laptop, I'm still using the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but this camera bag again doesn't officially support carrying it in the laptop sleeve, especially the laptop sleeve that's up against your back. That one definitely cannot fit the 16-inch laptop. But as long as this back panel is empty, get this thing to the front side, into that front pocket, and push down really hard and pray that nothing too hard smacks against this back side of the camera bag. You can actually fit the 16-inch laptop here in the 25 liter. All right, so that pretty much covers everything that's inside of the bag. We're next going to talk about a couple of extra pieces of equipment that I kind of have to bring when going out shooting. The first is going to be tripods. All right, so I already made a video on this tripod. This is the Benro Mammoth tripod and been loving it. If you want to see my full thoughts and opinions on it, I'll link the video up here somewhere. Again, we're still using the Acrotech ball head for panoramas, and we replaced the feet with these spikes from Really Right Stuff. and it's a nice sized, nice weight, really stable tripod, the most stable tripod that I have used thus far. The tripod that I am kind of figuring out what I want to use, whether I still want to continue to use it, is this tripod here. This was my old landscape photography tripod. This is the iFootage TC5. I just put on this really cheap Telephoto ball head on here, and I've been using this guy as my main vlogging or secondary time-lapse tripod. I was using the Peak Design for a short period of time, but I've had my camera knocked over with that thing in high winds. So this one is a little bit more stable and a little bit more robust. Most of the time when I'm vlogging, I'm standing away from my camera, so I'm not there to catch it if it falls. So I need something that is stable, or at least acceptably stable and not going to blow over in the wind. At one point in time, I was using it as my main tripod, but it's still a little bit on the heavier side. And you know, it doesn't quite fit with our current motto of trying to get things that are smaller and lightweight. As a second tripod, this thing is a beast. It's heavy. So I'm still shopping around, still trying to figure out what type of lightweight vlogging tripod solution that I'm going to find. Shimoda hack number 3, we kind of addressed it a little bit in the Action X video, but if I am carrying a tripod and a water bottle, usually I would put the water bottle in these pockets here, these little, what's it called? These drop pockets, and just kind of secure it on the side like such. Yeah, I would usually secure it with the drop pocket here, just on the side like that. But then I'm carrying one less tripod, and then I don't have both of my hands free when I'm hiking and climbing. So what I opt to do instead is take this drop pocket off. I actually skipped a step, so we'll just throw that away. Once you get it out, you can actually secure it to the waist strap, and this takes the weight of the water bottle off your back, puts it on your waist, so it's much easier to carry. And then you know, because this water bottle is pretty big, it's not the most secure to just kind of leave hanging off of the side like this, because as you can see, the pocket doesn't quite fully secure the water bottle. It has a lot of space to move. So what I'll do is I will take this little hook here, you know, these climbing hooks or not climbing hooks, whatever you want to call them, and I'll just secure the water bottle like such, just like that. And that way everything is secure, it's attached, and then again, it frees up the 2 straps here on the side to be used for a tripod if needed. Okay, so the last piece of equipment that I want to talk about is the underwater housing. Because the wide angle lenses got downsized, I could downsize the dome, and now this thing is a much smaller and manageable size when it comes to putting it in the luggage and bringing it to the beach and carrying it alongside tripods. It definitely helps to have something small in size in comparison to what I had before, which is, hang on, let me show you guys what I had before. The huge underwater housing that I had previously. Can you look at this huge ass port here? I mean, come on, like, it's a little ridiculous just to have this port, this wide angle port for the 16 to 35, and the size comparison is like night and day. Night and day. So I will be making a whole dedicated video on this underwater setup, but in short, it's a nice, small, lightweight system. It works really, really well with the current lenses that I have, and I don't see myself switching out of this system anytime soon. So yeah, this has been a nice little update in terms of my camera bag. After traveling so much, doing a lot of hikes, my body was really starting to break down. I had hurt my back from work, so I already had a bad back. My knee started acting up in reaction to that bad back, so I pretty much made the mental decision to be like, all right, well, if I want to keep doing photography and going on all these hikes and all these adventures, I'm gonna have to try to find a way to save weight so I'm not breaking my back every time I'm going out to shoot. And this has been a nice process to just kind of exchange all of my camera gear to something that's smaller, more lightweight and portable. And if you also struggle with physical ailments and you still like to do photography, maybe consider cutting back on the amount of photography gear that you bring. Maybe consider buying new pieces of equipment that are smaller, more lightweight, more portable, because it's gonna end up saving your body in the long run. So yeah, definitely something to consider if that is you. But yeah, I've basically just used that excuse to continue to feed my addiction to camera gear. As you can tell, I definitely have a very, very bad case of gas or gear acquisition syndrome, and somebody should probably lock my credit cards before I do something even crazier than what I've already done. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, comment below, and subscribe if you are not already. Leave me a comment below on what gear that you're using, what your current setup looks like, and if any of this information was relatable to you about downsizing your gear. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next travel video, which I think, barring any unforeseen delays, will probably be our group photography trip to Kauai, which will be definitely fun to show you guys. So yeah, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.